Hey everybody, it's tafony here once again. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm rambling about the Joranalogue and Hainbach collaboration. It is the Collide 4. They describe it as a quadrature spectral computer. It is based on and expands upon the vintage circuits found in lock-in amplifiers, such as the one that Hainbach owns. And we better lock in today because it's going to be a bit of a doozy. But before we do that, I need to give a huge shout out, a huge thank you to our good Europal Mariusz for lending me this for this video. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate it. And to anyone who's lent me gear to cover on this channel, I would never be able to cover something like Collide 4 without all of your help. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. So what is Collide 4? Like I said, it's a collection of different circuits found in lock-in amplifiers and things that are used in particle accelerator testing back in the day, things that were used to develop the atomic bomb, I believe I saw in one interview. And I'll probably link to the description. There's a bunch of great interviews with Hainbach and Joranna on the Collide 4, talking about the process to make it, talking about the circuits it was based on, talking about the scientific side of it. And I don't just mean the module itself and its design, but talking about the circuits that this was based on were not intended for audio use, for musical use at least. They were intended for doing particle accelerator research and other types of physics that I wouldn't even pretend to gesture at understanding. So if that side of things interests you, I'll link some stuff in the description. If your mind is hungry for exploring those sort of concepts and find that really fun, the Collide 4 will certainly be a feast for that. What I didn't expect about this one, though, is just how good it sounded. I thought it was kind of more of a conceptual thing, meaning all the things that I just mentioned are really interesting. The history is really cool and whatnot, but what I didn't expect is that the unique sound would be really, really good. And not that there's anything to suggest otherwise. I just sort of thought that this was all about the concept and the story and the history and the uniqueness and the stuff. It actually sounds pretty freaking amazing. With that, I think the best place to start is with the input section. There's kind of a number of different modules within this module, so I think the best way to check it out is to try and break it up into different pieces, different elements, I guess. I'm trying to not say module because obviously Collide 4 itself is a module. Let's go through the different elements. And the first being the input section. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think might be the most responsible for the secret sauce of why the Collide 4 sounds so good. It consists of a preamplifier with select range. We're not sending anything in right now, so you won't hear that. But if you want to generate some sounds, and there's a lot of applications on here for like creating a complex oscillator out of the oscillator on board and mixing it in with the self-oscillating sine waves that come out of the filter on here, then that's another way to generate sounds. We are listening right now to the monitor output, so there is a mono output for listening to just the input section. This is the frequency of the bandpass filter, so it is labeled as filter center in the middle. There's no detent or anything. It's just at the middle of the frequency range. And the filter width here is very oriented for scientific testing, and by that I mean if you were trying to identify, and again, I am talking way out of my breath here. I'm not entirely sure how in a lab they would actually be interfacing with the things that they're testing, meaning you had a sample. It's not audio, obviously, so we are testing on audio with Joranalogue cables. But if you were in the lab, how would I test on a substrate, a physical piece of something, using the Collide 4? I don't know. There is a way, there's dual inputs, but we are here to talk about audio. So if you were trying to narrow down your testing with this filter, then you could adjust the filter width to really drill down the narrowness of it, right? And that won't apply to self-oscillation, obviously. But keep in mind the bandpass filter is variable width, and it allows for some really interesting tonal changes. Now, if you don't want to use self-oscillation, if you want to ping it instead, there is an internal ping generator, basically sends a transient into the input section and through the filter. If we lay 4 on the floor, and you'll need some amplitude to do so. This first section is a kind of macro selector. Do you want to use negative 20 dB of gain? Do you want to use 10? Do you want to use 0 at unity? And you can start to hear this popping. Do you want to boost it 10 or all the way up to 30? And you'll notice this overload here. I find in practice it's hard to get out of the overloading territory, and you probably, one, because there is intense amounts of gain here. I believe this can even boost instrument level up to Eurorack level, which is a tremendous amount of gain. You probably won't want to leave the overdriving territory because it sounds so good. And this is at the input level. There's also this filter gain VCA, so after our filter, we get this. And this is linear, meaning only boosting. It won't attenuate at 0. It's not like acting like a VCA where it's totally off. It will just boost it. If we instead bring up some filter width, bring it down to noon. And I'm going to attenuate this a little bit elsewhere. Be careful with your ears with the Collide 4 because either with self-oscillation or with this insane amount of gain, it can decimate your ears, it can decimate your gears, it can do all the things. It is a beast of gain, and it sounds outstanding. This is the part where I'm just like, there's a bit of a chicken and the egg thing where it aesthetically matches the sounds that you would kind of. What is the equipment they used to build the atomic bomb on gonna sound like? This? Is that because they're related in design? Not really. But it has some there's just some specialness to this clipping. I don't have any tangible way to put my finger on it. Our ping input as well, you don't get any controls over the envelope, but by boosting the filter, the transients ring out longer. Transients, I mean like a decay. But now that we actually have some input going into the filter width will change its timbre a little bit. And if we bring that frequency way up, you will leave the self-oscillation territory, but if we bring that back in as well, it will be difficult in this video to not explore the sounds for so long because this is one of those modules where, again, if you're just kind of looking to explore, if you want something to noodle with, I think you're going to find lots to noodle with here. And there's just something about how it overdrives that just sounds marvelous. And again, because this gain is after, I kind of like having it dimed. Like, you can set the gain range here, but you want to keep that. You want to keep that up. Bring our resonance down. And it just has some juicy low end. Like, wonderful. And we can modulate everything here, so the gain can be modulated. If I send an LFO to its input, this one here is the gain modulating attenuator. Send it positive, negative. Or we can modulate the center of our filter, so the frequency cutoff essentially, but again, it's band pass, so center of that band. Or if I send that up, I don't know, audio rate, what does that sound like? Narrow the filter width. And again, we're just using the ping generator right now, but you might find that those are more colorful sounds when we're not just creating a kick out of that. So let's take a moment to jump over and do that. It sounds freaking marvelous. I hope you enjoy that nastiness as much as I do, and if you don't, apologies, this might be a rough video for you. So there's input, there's positive and negative. If you send the same signal into both, the second one is a inverse version of the phase, so they actually will phase cancel if you send the same signal into itself. And to demonstrate that, I'm just going to throw that in real quick. We take a saw wave from the Banshee Reach. I will multiply it and send it back in. Here it comes into the positive input, going through our Collide 4 input section. If we send it into the negative input, sounds like that. And if we mult it and we send it into both inputs, they will phase cancel and it sounds like nothing. Now you can, if I put in different waves, there's a sine wave of the same frequency, a pulse wave, get different timbres by getting phase cancellation. So I won't pretend to understand the clinical use for having a positive and negative one. Maybe there's a way you can sort of probe your substrate in the lab with what you don't want to come out, or like a control or something, but positive and negative is there. It is the real deal based on lab equipment. Here's how it sounds negative. Switch it to positive. Again, it's kind of like switching from a ramp to a saw wave. Kind of not so different. But if we send something crazy like my favorite oscillator, Piston Honda in, this input section has marvelous wave shaping. And again, insane amounts of gain. You almost get PWM. So mind your ears. We'll crank that filter width up. But as a wave shaper, don't sleep on it. Because where do you find something like this? Let's try a little less noisy. Again, it is a pretty aggressive wavetable, but if we modulate the gain now, you can kind of get some like wave shaping. If we try and bring this filter down a little bit so it clips a little less, and then we modulate the gain just a little bit positive, LFO coming in here. I think that's something really special. If we modulate the center frequency of our filter, it's a drone beast. And now we are still pinging this. If we take the ping out, notice how our range can hone in different frequencies, right? I'm thinking of like in the lab, you'd have to set a macro adjustment to get to the place you're trying to test. Filter width down to a super narrow amount. We'll stop modulating the center, and I won't get carried away with what I'm going to say here, but it sounds a little bit like you can narrow that filter so small that you can kind of scope out. I don't know. I want to make a comparison to vocoding because it's so narrow, but under intense amounts of resonance and full width, you just get wave shaping, and that's where I love to stay. Now, this can track the oscillator that we're going to try and get our way over to. God, this is loud. Oscillator over here. If you want this filter to track its frequency, bring it down to audio rate. You can have it sweep itself. And I don't know. Again, chicken and the egg, it sounds like how I aesthetically picture like a nuclear reactor or particle collider, or I don't know. It sounds like a mad scientist. So if you're into microwaving bananas, let's move on to the oscillator section. So right now we're out of audio range. If we switch over to audio range, we'll have a sine wave VCO. Pretty straightforward. This one is the oscillator fine tune. I'll just bring that up to noon. Sine wave is a sine wave. We do have exponential and linear FM. If I send in a triangle wave from the 3 body, here's exponential FM. Positive. Like a very real, very analog sine. And then through 0 as well. So let's send that same sine into the through 0 FM. ratio. Proper through 0 FM, getting that cool wave shaping Batman sort of thing out of modulating the two. Very cool, very useful. And if we don't have another oscillator handy and we just want to, I don't know, listen to the output of the first output and use that oscillator to modulate it, we can come in here and use that first oscillator, and I don't know, we'll modulate other things like the width. And if we track that filter center as well, you can modulate more things. It's just to say, if you built a small pod or something like they did at the videos I was watching into the Collide, you have a modulation source on here if you just want to listen to the output of the input section through the monitor output. Back over to the oscillator Q, which is, as I believe, and again, it's challenging to go through all of these things, this is the cosine output of the first oscillator, if I'm not mistaken. And when I am mistaken in this video, just shout it out. Let's even monitor the first one and monitor the second one. So you can see sine and cosine. There is this dome filter that won't have any effect because it's being bypassed. We're just checking out the oscillator output. And if we move over to the X and Y prime output, I believe is what the little apostrophe signifies, then we get into a whole bunch of different stuff. So currently we have it set so X equals Y as indicated on this graph, X equals Y prime. There is ring modulator on board here, and I believe the quadrature spectral computing here refers to the 4 different outputs. I really like how all of the different pieces are lined up, but to a numbskull like me, it gets a little confusing to try and remember which of the outputs does which. Just know the main output, per se, is this second one here. This will do frequency shifting through use of the oscillator frequency, and that might not be super exciting off the jump, but if we send other things in, like, I don't know, some crazy noise from the shard, and pitch that down on the filter side, you can get some really interesting ring modulated pitch shifting sounds. This is the symmetry. If we switch over to the first input again, we're just listening to those sine waves out. The symmetry will change the phase, which also changes the pitch. It doesn't change the phase offset between the two of them, but the pitch will change. And I don't think this has an application different than the course here, but in different outputs, again, I'm not a scientist, you will change things because in this one, the wave animation is changing, as you can see on the scope. Our pitch shifting on here. And again, an analog pitch shifter is like, in the cheapest Dope4 version, I believe is like 600 Canadian dollars. Collide 4, a little bit more than that. It's a special thing. There's some value there. I'll turn my FMs down. So we've turned noise into pitch, which can be tracking volt per octave. If I send a sequence into that, volt per octave in, here comes a little sequence. But if that wasn't enough, there is 2-pole low-pass filter and quadrature, and as is enabled by switching on this 90-degree output. This is what they describe as Hilbert transformation network, and it is a dome filter. When I am misspeaking, shout it out. If we ping this, if we take our input out now and just ping it instead, we get the same effect. your symmetry to be a little deeper. If you change the time const, and again, we'll switch back to the non-transformation network way, X and Y, crank up that symmetry, pitching it up. It feels like you're losing your marbles in a physics lab, in the best way. If we switch that from audio to LFO rate, again, you could use this on processes that are not at audio rate, but I don't think I'm going to be able to in this video. Here comes the symmetry up, time construct up. There are other outputs. I believe this is X and Y differential, which means we're subtracting the Y prime from the X, and then the opposite, this is the X added to the Y. I know there are scientific applications for these, but I like the way it just mangles the wave shaping, right? There's some squaring off hard clipping there that sounds delicious. Science. Science. And again, we are listening to the ping input, but if we sent our piston Honda in again, we get this awesome wave shaping. Symmetry down, pitch down. Time construct up. I find it dulls the sound. I guess this is a function of the dome filter, that when you broaden its audio output, you can see it getting less of the fundamental. But listen, are you hearing this? And this is because our oscillator is being an LFO, right? So it's shifting them in and out of phase, but getting that PWM crunch at the end when it's just floored. Oh. Now let's track the filter to that. And if we just turn this up a hair, hopefully it won't leave quite as far. And what if I turn this up to audio rate? Yeah. Noise tools. All right, then we have phase and magnitude. So this is a polar. This is the polar converter, and it'll sound wacky. If you want a tool that feels like lab tools that aren't meant to be musical instruments, and they totally can be. They don't have to be what I'm throwing out here. Here's the 90 degree with the dome filter. Filter width up, pitching it down. Yes, take my vocal octave out, and we'll just listen to it go. Yes. Here's just a straight up triangle wave. Bring the gain down to unity. Try and filter towards the low end. And get some audio rate mod. But if we put the filter to free. Oh. Pitch this down a little bit. Yes. Now, you can also inject, I guess, into the X and Y inputs here. So this will forgo this oscillator. I don't know if that means this will track it then. Oh, I do think it does. Here's the Y. And I guess I could do sine and cosine from the 3-body, which you're listening to right now, but probably not super essential. Let's just do an LFO in there as well. This one is, can't see, this is the prime in, I believe. Here's the Q in. And you can modulate the time construct as well if we switch this down to LFO. It's like If we go back to the main output, the X prime and the Y prime, like, if these are the sounds that you're into, which I never thought of myself as someone who would be, but then I get my hands on this and I'm like, this is really special. Something to explore. It's great. And we're not only listening to this in mono. Let's pop this into stereo so you can really listen to that offset that sounds so beautiful. Here we go. Huge square wave on the right side. And then if we do our 90-degree, and modulate, I don't know, modulate our center of our frequency. Might need some attenuation. Here we go. Let's do that first. I don't know. The tools here to explore are endless. So it's one of those videos where I'm like, I'm trying to grasp at straws with my two brain cells and show you all the different things that make this so special, but really it is like an entire laboratory of stuff to check out. Like, I'm hearing some pinging right now, which I assume is a function of the oscillator rate, but if we put our sequence back in, yeah. Yep. Let's ping it again. So let's go back to free and 90-degree that. It's so very loud. Filter down. Let's bring our filter up a little bit. Get those sine waves modulating each other. Here's some FM-y kind of bell stuff too, right? Let's bring the time construct up and we'll stop modulating it. I don't know, the analog low end too is just like, yes. Just the magnitude. Magnitude? Nope. And phase. Listen to them side by side. Yep. Just the wave shaping of it. Even there's no wave, it's just well, I guess the sine wave from the self-oscillating filter. Yeah. Let's go back to our main output in beautiful stereo. Or if we normalize them. They're still offset though. But when we engage that filter, and if, I don't know, let's send our volt per octave into the filter center. Yeah, it'll track. Interesting. So different tone to that. If I send my audio in again. Guess not too different from the default. What if we throw Piston Honda in there? Oh, I wasn't sending it on. Here comes the on. Yep. It's funny. I was pretty skeptical of this one going into it. I was kind of like, I don't know if that'll be for me. But to hear it really live up to the aesthetic that it's kind of trying to convey, I think that's something really special. And if the concepts that they are touching on in this one appeal to you, I think they've done something really, really special here. So I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully some more Collide 4 content to come because I'm really enjoying it while I am borrowing it. So if you like that, if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.